Welcome to Mighty's Methods, a segment on this channel where we teach you how to do things in-game you can apply to your real life. In today's video, we're going over everything you need to know about crafting, so stay tuned to the end. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Mighty Moth here, back with another video. So, like I said, today we're going to go over everything crafting, and how this is going to apply to your real life is just thinking before you act. You have a problem, you need something solved. How do I solve it? We need to go step by step, and then you have to look at the resources you have available in your life or in your situation that you can use to your advantage to reach the end game, whatever that goal is. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to try and make this video semi-short. Alright, so I needed a new weapon, but Giant's Blood wasn't working out for me because I lost too much health. So I seen this crown mace on the ground. It was white, and I said, you know what? Let's roll this motherfucker. So we hit it with a greater orb of transmutation and a greater orb of augmentation. Now we hit percent flat physical damage. The reason that's good is because you have these greater essences of abrasion which guarantee you the flat physical damage. So boom, you can put this thing on here and now you have a pretty decent weapon. So from this point you have a few options. You can do what I did here, which is kind of the lazy way, and I don't really have a lot of currency and I just needed a weapon. You can throw your exalts on it, and we needed melee skills. So after we throw our exalts on it, we know that melee skills are a suffix. So if we use the perfect essence of battle, it's going to remove a random modifier. But if the item is full, it has to remove a modifier that it's going to replace, which is a suffix. And we don't give a shit about any of these other suffixes. So we fully rolled it, got our 4 to melee skills, and there you have it. Now we have a usable weapon, and it took us 20 seconds, and you just had to use the resources you had on hand. So let's say you have an item like this, which is similar to the one we did. Now another route we could have taken was using omens. So you could use this omen here, which makes your next exalt add a modifier similar to the existing modifier on the item. So the only prefix on the item is a percent physical prefix. So if you use the omen of Sinistral Exaltation, your next exalt will only be able to put on prefixes. If you want to get real fancy, you can use an omen of Greater Exaltation. So then it adds 2 modifiers. So now you're going to get 2 modifiers, only prefixes, that are the same as the current modifier on the item. Since there are no possible outcomes where it could roll a prefix that has anything to do with strength, it would have to pull from that physical pool, which would give you flat physical and the phys accuracy split, getting you the highest possible combination of physical modifiers you could get, albeit not exactly high tiers. But one caveat: if you use a perfect exalt or a greater exalt, it guarantees you a higher tier, and in that way you can deterministically craft the greatest fucking mace you've ever made. Now we'll give you like another example. So let's say you're playing and you're like, I really need a oddly specific shield or buckler, and it has to have certain stats: max life, percent increased evasion rating, and block chance. How could we get there? Now, it would be rather difficult to get there with this base, but you could do it. You could throw another modifier on it with a orb of transmutation and get a suffix on it, and then you could throw a greater essence of body on it, which would give you your maximum life, and then you could use one of these. Now, what this guy does is makes a desecration only on a prefix. So then you could take it there, desecrate it for your last prefix roll with your percent evasion and your max life on it already, and get one of these to get a reroll to have 6 chances at potentially getting increased block chance. Now, Once you've done that, you could exalt, and just call it a day. Or you could grab one of these other omens right here, and then you can just go put it on like a lightning essence, and it would only remove the one shitty suffix that you put on it and replace it with lightning resistance or whatever resistance you needed. And then you could exalt and put the rest of your modifiers on it if you were happy with that. Now, I know most of the shield and buckler modifiers for desecrated mods are suffixes, but with the omen that says the desecration will only affect prefixes or suffixes, I would imagine that you could get it to actually be a prefix or a suffix. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, if it was me, I would just recombo. I would find whatever the pinnacle of what I wanted and do that. I would try and get all my prefixes, so I would just find a shield with a high percent block chance and max life, and then find another shield or buckler with percent evasion, and I would save those up, and then I would do them all in at one time. I would find versions of them. Some could be better, some could be worse, and I would do like 4 pairs of those shields. That way, it just mathematically, in that instance, you have a higher chance of hitting instead of like to this day, this day, this day, and this day. Not saying that's like statistically it makes any sense that it would raise your probability, but the fact that you have, let's say, a 14 to 20% chance to hit it as long as they're not all T1 mods. If you do like a T2, 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 or like a T1, T3, T3, you should have about a 20% chance. If you do 4 of them, the likelihood of you missing all 4 of them is pretty low, and then you just exalt, exalt, exalt. Or like I said, you can use your perfect essence with the only affect suffix modifiers, and then just take off the suffixes that are on it. But you're going to want to make sure you put a suffix on it with an exalt before you do that. So if you want to make a ring, this is one of the few ways I can think about making a damage ring. So you would use this with a Sinistral Exaltation, and you would quality it with Lightning Catalyst or Cold Catalyst or whatever damage modifier you wanted. And then you would use this. And then it would consume that, and it would give you a modifier. So I'm assuming if you use like a greater or a perfect or whatever, it would give you a higher tier lightning. And if you wanted to get like really fancy, you could use the, boom, the adds 2, the greater exaltation. So then you basically would get the percent and the flat just to like have an idea. Or you could use the greater exaltation coupled with the homogenesis or whatever to give you a modifier like the existing modifier. So I would assume if you have, let's say, a tier 2 cold damage, then you could use the Sinistral Exaltation to do only prefixes. It would give you the modifier like the one you have, which is an attack modifier. And then you could use the greater exaltation, so it would give you 2 attack modifiers. Now, this is, again, all speculation. I have a ring. I'm going to try it on, and I'll update you. I just had to find these omens, because I'm kind of poor, because I had a late start, so I haven't been able to farm a lot of currency. I have like 1 div. So, and you can apply this to basically anything, like armor. You got high flat armor, and then you put a greater essence of enhancement, which gives you percent armor, and then you can just roll it. You could put a perfect essence of the body on it and get percent increased maximum life, and use that omen I showed you earlier, which will make your next perfect essence or corrupted essence only affect suffix modifiers. So it'll randomly remove that suffix, and boom, give you the prefix that you need. And then you're in the game. Then you just roll, and then you can whittle and do things like that, and target your lowest modifiers. That's when you're like in the upper echelon of crafting. That's when you're like putting so much effort into something, and you have tons of currency. But the way I'm describing crafting is for those of us that don't have a whole ton, like a whole lot of currency, but you have certain things at your disposal. And a lot of these omens aren't very expensive. Some of them are. Some of them are like a div. But if you're looking for a very specific item, my advice to you is the Recombinator is your best friend. Any item you pick up, I would augment it and transmute it and just see what the if it gives you a prefix that you're looking for or a suffix that you're looking for and just put them in a stash. Get a quad tab. This is my Recombinator tab. I'm saving every piece of armor with percent evasion, every piece of armor with flat evasion, every piece of armor with a split of the two, or evasion energy shield flat, evasion energy shield split, block chance for your shield, percent evasion for your shield, and just throw them in your stash. And then just set aside, 20 minutes of your day. I'm just going to start recomboing all of these items. And if you hit one, then you can go back to the omen thing. You can start using these omens with the knowledge that you've gained from this video and target modifiers. Now, there's some other omens that are particularly interesting with the desecration mods, and we can talk about those briefly, but I'm trying to keep this short. So, this one, the Kurgal modifiers, from what I can tell, it can give you basically like spellcaster stuff, invoke spells, increase damage, attacks penetrate resistances, maybe bonuses from equipped quivers or projectile damage increased, empowered attacks deal increased damage. It gives you percent increased physical damage with reduced attack speed. I'm not really sure why that's a thing. That doesn't make much sense, but it guarantees you one of those random modifiers based on which item you put it on. Now, the Amana New or whatever one is a little different. You can have like a wide range of things from like spirit on prefixes and remnants effects and fire thorns damage per maximum life and spell damage, increased damage with your grenades or increased cooldown with grenades, increased damage against fully broken enemies. Then you can get like damage taken recouped as life on a suffix, levels to minion skills, maximum resistance. I thought I seen block chance as an option on one on a suffix. So maybe you can use that on a shield and guarantee you at least like 12 to 16 block chance on the suffix. It is a suffix, not a prefix, so it would be a little bit OP if it gave you the same exact value as a 30%, so you could get 60% on your shield. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you were making a buckler or something, but just an example. As for the Ullman modifiers, I didn't find a whole lot of research on this or any real information, but I guess you can get like +1 maximum totems, like ballista totems, or like additional chain plus crit damage versus close targets and projectile damage at long range or extra projectiles while moving and companion buffs or something. They might be like specific and like especially powerful in certain scenarios, but again, not a lot of info out there on the interwebs, and I haven't really used it, so I'm just seeing what people have told me. But that's about it for this video. I really would have liked to have made this video a lot longer and more in depth and given you an example of every single craft, but my time is limited and my daughter needs me right now, so I got to get back to that. But I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you can use this information in your real life to solve any problems you may be encountering. Now you know to use the resources you have available. Stop and think for a second how you really want to approach solving this problem. And maybe it's just an argument, and you think about how you can articulate in a way that it mitigates any negative consequences for both you and the other party involved. So with that being said, you already know what it is. I love you guys. You are enough. Stay blessed, and as always, stay mouthy, my friends, and we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Say, see you later, guys.
See you later, guys.